where do you consider your role today in the business?
Yeah, so I look at from a visionary standpoint that I'm leading, what the entire business looks like long term.
Mm-hmm.
And so really painting that picture. We look at, the family aspect as my brothers and I look to start our own families here soon, and now thinking, the next generations after that, and creating this sense of sustainability, really.
Welcome to The Roll Call, the podcast where we dive into the roles that define us. I'm your host, John Glahn. On each episode, we explore the journeys of people discovering their true roles in life, business, and beyond. Get ready for inspiring conversations about finding purpose and authenticity. Let's roll the roll call. Welcome, everyone, to The Roll Call. I'm John Glahn. I have with me esteemed guest Hugh Ingalls, co-founder and visionary integrator of the business of Ingalls Pictures, and which I'll let him explain all those things that go along to that, essentially bringing great stories to life through video. And, we met 3 or 4 years ago through a visionary forum that we were a part of.
Yep. Shout out Coach Bob.
Yep. Coach Bob, who's connected a lot of us together. So all are here and accounted for. Let's start the roll call.
Yeah. Well, thank you, John. And just super excited to be here. This is a beautiful opportunity for us to reconnect and have a great conversation. So if you're open to it, I'd like to ask you a question.
No.
In following the roll call here, what have you learned about yourself since you started the podcast?
Wow. Thank you for that question, by the way. For me, the story behind starting the podcast is I never had a dream to, I never had a thought to, I never had a desire to. I don't do social media. I have not put myself out in the free world, let's say, self-promotion. And when I was approached by our mutual friend, Armando Leduc, who's in the forum, thanks again for getting me started on this. Yep. I said, I don't have a story to tell. What do I have to tell him? He's go, it's not about you, dummy. It's about someone else's story. It's like, oh yeah. Okay. So maybe I can do this.
Yep.
And really what I learned from it, taking it back, is the imposter syndrome that envelops most of us. Again, outwardly looking, most people would think I have my shit together, for lack of a better word, right? But realizing there was a shell of me that was hiding behind. And I've learned that, one, I do have a voice. Even though I am sharing and using other people's methodologies, I am a thought leader. I never thought those things, right? Yep. And so that's what this has really taught me, is to get that childlike wonder out and let it rip.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That was my curiosity. So appreciate it.
Thank you. And there are some more like business fundamentals and other things that go along with it, but the biggest, that really is the one that matters because it translates into most everything else that I do.
Yeah.
So, Hugh, let's everyone hear what is Ingalls Pictures. I could go in different ways about how to start this, but I'm going to say, what is it? How did it start? Because you're not doing this by yourself.
Yep. Amen. So let's turn back the clocks to 2014. Mm-hmm. And my brother was at film school at Grand Valley State University over in the west side of Michigan. And he ironically had sold some Bitcoin and was able to fund some early film equipment that he was playing around with. And at the same time, I was graduating from Aquinas College with a business degree, and through my time in college, I did some door-to-door sales, selling windows, which I would highly recommend to anyone and everyone. It is
talk about a learning experience.
Yes, yep, and to engage in a conversation and have to move someone to know, like, and trust in 3 seconds is the ultimate challenge. So. And then did an internship, selling some life insurance at Northwest Mutual for a semester, and so going through those experiences and the timing of my brother thinking about dropping out, we started kind of these conversations, and it would have been May of 2020 or 2014, and kind of came to this conclusion of like, okay, I could maybe go out and find some work through. These past sales positions, started to develop a network, and there was a first entrepreneurial venture starting a college hockey program at Aquinas, and my brother actually had done some recruiting videos for us. So without even realizing it, we had done business together already. And so, we kind of, like I said, just started those conversations and came to the kind of conclusion that, like, okay, if we're going to do this, the time would be now. Like, this would be the time we have probably the least amount of responsibility, and as a 22 and 19-year-old. And so, it turned into taking those initial videos, those recruiting videos, and then, just going out and talking to people about them. And really, I mean, this actually goes back to childhood when my brother started messing around with a camera in high school, and I would go tell my friends, like, hey, check out this cool Batman skit my brother did. And so in some ways, it was just like this memory thing. Like, I just had to go back to what I already knew personally, and realizing that there was this kind of beautiful kind of thing that was kind of unearthing that, now, decade later, it's turned into just an amazing, company, an amazing journey that we've been able to, But anyhow, like, it was that summer of 2014 and making cold calls. And so going back to those door-to-door sales roots of, like, just knocking on business doors and schools and nonprofits, just anyone that would basically listen to us. That, hey, we do, my brother makes some cool videos. He can make something for you. So that's how we started, John.
Awesome. So let's fast forward to now. What kind of work are you guys doing now?
So I'll give you a little snapshot. I mean, we're doing big campaigns for insurance companies across country, which is a challenge in itself, from, working with a lot of corporate comms folks and really, helping, bring our perspective of, like, telling real people, real stories, authentic stories in a corporate world that wants to be very scripted. So we're always, challenging that narrative. And I think it's led us to some, great work and some amazing people to work with. So we have a lot of corporate campaigns going. We're working on 3 big documentary projects. Probably not enough time to get into all of them, but high level, there's some major real estate development projects in Grand Rapids, a stadium and an amphitheater, and we're doing short documentaries telling the story of all the folks that help, bring it to life. And and then there's more of a civic project that we're doing in celebration of America's 250th birthday, about the importance of being a joiner, so joining those clubs and clubs and committees that really make everything tick. So, we're in an exciting time, John, and so a lot of fun projects.
That's great. I think I want to distill something I heard you say, like, in the corporate world, like, when everyone wants a script, and I think I heard you saying bringing more of the human, like, let's get a real story in the script. Are you helping? Because, again, I think you can consider production, video, film, or different things. Are you helping, like, modify that script? Or are you saying, hey, you've got to, like, again, if you're dealing with a big corporation, they have a team of people that probably want to come up with that. So where do you come in? How do you change that narrative?
Yeah, I think it just comes with time and trust. I think at the onset, the expectation, and just, not being afraid to challenge some things and ask those questions. When we go into a discovery call, let's say, asking those questions about where do you really want to go with this video content, and challenging them to really paint for us that clear picture of where this video lies, and helping them achieve X, Y, and Z. And granted, we understand video is just a tiny part of the bigger picture, but we know, hey, that it's a medium that can move the needle. And something we fall back on is, like, business goes at the speed of relationships, and to show what your business is doing to a potential customer client is an amazing way to just accelerate those relationships. So to answer your question, I mean, we and this ties back to our family. Someone we brought on very early on was our father, and so he, script writer, poet, marketing whiz, that he and my mom started a nonprofit in our hometown, and he had the marketing side, he had the creative side. So he's been someone, kind of our X factor, that when we go into initial conversations, we can share, hey, we have a script writer, with 40 years of experience that, can get another set of eyes on a script, another set of eyes on, here's the questions for the interviews, and making sure that we're, phrasing questions in a way that are going to elicit those authentic responses.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's he's kind of in our bullpen, ready to deploy at any time, which is it's a lot of fun too, working with your dad.
I want to go back to, because I obviously behind the curtain a little bit, I know a little more about the family dynamic, and one of the amazing things why that is I got to experience your mother as a speaker, Hugh Ingalls, at a Visionary Summit a couple years ago, I think. Yep. And the amazing family dynamic, one, and we can go to wherever this goes later, but family and business, right? That I tend to find myself in that quite a bit with a lot of my clients, right? Because family businesses and all of the wonderful things and the potential ugly parts of that. Yep. Managing that dynamic, the love, and if anybody follows either your mom or you or whatever, or family or social media, right? The family dynamic and the family love, it pours through like you don't see often or everywhere, right? I think there's certainly love in families, but getting to experience your mom's experience from her side, and then knowing you as a human, and then throwing in again your father in the business, and it's just to me it's an amazing story that's hard to replicate, and it starts, I think, with the parents.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, my parents dedicated their lives to their children, and so my two brothers and I have been the beneficiaries of that, and in thinking about my mom particularly, who created this pressure-free living, this on-the-go stress management method that she brought to our family back in 2010, when I was in this transition period of going from a senior in high school to a freshman in college. My brother's going through high school, the youngest brother's in middle school, and so it was really a gift to our family that these tools that you can use at any moment, at any time, to help manage the fight or flight stress response. Not getting too far into it, but it's so valuable, because a lot of times we hear about stress and it's like, well, we got to go work out or go meditate or go take away from what you're supposed to be doing. And the gift that my mom has given the world is the ability to do it on the go. Like I can't just pause this. Hey, sorry, John, I got to go. I'll be back in 20 minutes. So that's been her mission in sharing that message, and so really that set the stage. I mean, as time went on, for us to really figure out who we are individually and what our own gifts and talents were. When you kind of remove that stress and that anxiety and even a little bit of depression, like your world starts to open up and you start to see things. You start to see the big picture, and you start to see your role in the world. And so, and even the ability now to work with my brother Ned, and now the youngest brother who's part of the business, who's this, we call him wicked smart. I mean, he was second in his class at Columbia. I mean, he was the one who, this just an amazing person that can just, he's kind of this hybrid, I feel like, between my brother Ned, who's this artist who will be up till 2 a.m. editing, and then myself, who's very regimented, waking up early, all these things, and doing the meditations and the workouts. And William is just like this perfect hybrid of like an amazing filmmaker and storyteller, but also incredibly organized and just this really savant of a human. Wow. So, but yeah, I mean, it's now going back to how we've made this work, is we've understood our gifts and talents and then leaned into those. So within our roles in the business, we stay in our lanes. And so, for example, with myself early on, like getting into kind of the sales, business development side, where I get my energy from being around people, and it was, I remember, I know in some self-development things around business particularly, it's like, you got to be a good judgment of the advice you get. Like some you need to just take in and apply, and some you need to maybe disregard. And I remember there was a moment where we were advised to maybe get into each other's lanes in a way. It's like I should go pick up a camera and start filming, and maybe Ned should, come on more sales calls and some things like that, or go to networking events, things like that. But and we said no to that. Yeah. And that's been really actually a gift. So, that mentor actually gave us the gift of understanding, and we've just leaned into those roles now.
So how much have you, again, from probably fledgling, scraping together what you can back in 2014, to now, you guys are living in your roles, right? Where do you consider your role today in the business?
Yeah, so I look at from a visionary standpoint that I'm leading, what the entire business looks like long term.
Mm-hmm.
So really painting that picture. We look at, the family aspect as my brothers and I look to start our own families here soon, and now thinking, the next generations after that, and creating this sense of sustainability, really. And so that's led us to think, which is a gift in itself, to just be thinking long term, that the anxiousness or like cutting corners, kind of moves away at some point. It's like, okay, like we're decided to be in this arena for a long time. So we can take this slower, methodical approach to growth that will sustain the company long term. That it will be something that, hey, the next generation will have an option to take over, or we bring in professional management. We're definitely thinking in those, multi-generational family business mindset. So that's really where my role starts, and then working down into the business, it is that, I kind of set that drumbeat. I'm running our morning huddles, that kind of, use the word integrator role. We're really, I'm casting that vision, but also bringing it into the organization. And we have an amazing team now, that where I come in with all these ideas as the visionary, and start to apply those ideas. We now have the team to kind of bring those things all the way to the finish line. So, and my role in the business being that business development person. So I'm out in the community, being the front man, to the company, and developing that trust with decision makers and marketing and business owners and corporate comms folks. And so my role, but I can't forget that childhoodness of like, I'm just telling people about the cool videos my brothers make. So, so the roles that role will be continuously evolving. And sometimes I've, gotten too visionary where like, hey, I need to really keep the drumbeat going in the business, and vice versa, where sometimes you get too in the minutia, too in the details, where I do need to trust our team and delegate. So.
Yeah. So how many team members do you have now?
So we have about 4 on kind of the business side. So we have my dad, who's, everyone who's there before the cameras turn on. So we have a full-time producer. So when we bring in a project, John, she's responsible for taking it to the finish line. She's kind of our, in some ways house me on some of the integrator. She's our operations manager. She's managing all the projects. She's an amazing individual that we were incredibly blessed to cross paths with about 4 years ago. And, her being kind of our first, full-time employee, kind of outside of the family. And our team is a roster of an amazing, talented videographers that we bring in for projects. And so she's really sitting at the center. So we have a roster of about six videographers or cinematographers, editors that will be working on projects at any given time. So we're very much the type of business that accordions, hey, we have lots of projects that come in, we complete those, and then it's, then we're back. So we're managing that capacity, just based off workload and changes in personal life as a lot of folks on our team are starting families, and so that's another sense that my role is now supporting families, not just individuals, and so that's helped us, really mature as a business.
Lean in further on that. That realization of you're supporting families, not individuals.
Yeah.
How's that played out for you?
Yeah, I think back to, there was beautiful times. I look back, when there was this very entrepreneurial, and it's still entrepreneurial, but it's just evolved to a different look and feel. But when it was like 5 of us, my brother Ned, myself, and 2 other videographers, and we would get together in our studio, and it would just be the 5 of us. We play football in the parking lot every day, and it was just a very, very bro culture, and it was awesome. And none of us had families yet, so it was very, we would all go to meetings together. It was fun. Like some clients were like, I didn't expect all you guys to show up, but it was awesome. We could, and we had that flexibility. So that gave us a great foundation culturally. And now it's just, to evolving that to now where there is more defined roles. There is more, the importance of closing deals and throughput for our business has more of a meaning now. That's, hey, when we have our, for example, our annual holiday Christmas party, and now there's kids everywhere. It's a little reminder of why we're doing what we're doing, and it's bring this kind of, I know this is way overused, but this human element to, way back early days, it was like, oh, we're making money to go have some more fun, to now it's supporting the next generation. Now it's so everything we do is just has another sense of meaning now, which is beautiful in so many ways.
That absolutely is beautiful. That's if when people connect themselves to that meaning and purpose versus just growing a business to make a bunch of money, that is the beauty of it, right? That we're here more than just to make money, and I think that obviously with you, there's even more meaning when you always feel responsible as an employee, as an owner, about all the families that you're supporting, that are supporting you. But you say family in a different, like it's family and it's family, right? Which is a whole nother prideful. I can't imagine the feeling of that.
Yeah, right. No, it's beautiful, and on that note, some of the challenges too. I mean, there are family values that, when we think about long-term, maturity of the business, long-term growth, we do have ambitious plans. Well, my brothers and my folks are still on this, or, to what we want to get done in the next 10, 20, 30 years. And now it's fun to see now these plans are starting to come into fruition. And I think it's, but there's also those challenges with a family. And I think one thing that I talk to other family business owners about is what comes with family is this unconditional love. But when you come down to business, it's about team, it's about performance. So, we're finding this middle ground, and it's a constant give and take, but it's reminding ourselves that we're here to perform for a client and get things done. And so this unconditional love can be a little bit of a hindrance. We do have to have those tough conversations around, let's say, performance, with our team. And so that's something we're starting to learn and starting to, I would say, keep, those foundational roots, the values stay true, but the moving more towards like, hey, like we are a performance organization that is hired, that is invested in my clients to put together, sometimes a very complex thing. A video could be hours and hours and hours and hours of interviews that you have to get down to a couple minutes. And so that takes a lot of, dedicated time and focus. So that is something that comes up often, is like, how do you marry that unconditional love versus, okay, you got to have these tough conversations, and you need some tough love.
And we're talking a little bit, right? Obviously, the reason we know each other is through operating system, right? That's actually ultimately when, the connections that we made were through that. So I know the value and the power of operating systems, but ever since actually I met, remember I recall when we met on the Visionary Forum, and then you're like, hey, let's connect. And I loved that. And you were so intentional about your questions, and, I could tell you were a voracious learner, and were willing to learn things and implement them, right? And so in a disciplined way. So now moving forward, so I know a little bit back behind the scenes, but, what's one way to help structure things around that family dynamic, or any dynamic for that matter, right? The key pillars of just an operating system, how to run a business, right? Roles, responsibilities. How do you have reviews? How do you plan ahead, right? So what have you guys, I know you've morphed, you can say names, it doesn't matter, but how is it that you guys have gone over these 10 years and still have that long strategic vision while getting things done?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. And I think back to the very moment I was gifted the book Traction by a great friend who runs an amazing recruiting firm, who we started our business right around the similar time, and we're getting together, just talking about issues going on each other's business, just good sounding board, and that changed everything when it comes to roles, responsibilities, and just a way to look at the business. That prior to that, we were, it was the hustle culture. It was just, and there was, going back to the story I shared of so all five of us would show up to a meeting some days, and it would be awesome, even if one or two weren't even part of the project. This is what we did, and so we have clients still to this day who talk about that, to our long-term vision, the operating state was definitely something that was just I feel like it would be bound to happen at some point, being introduced to it, but it just happened to be that 2018 time, which thankfully, when the world changed in 2020, that we had some of these tools that we had put in place through the guidance of a few people in my life that were coaches of these different operating systems that just kind of gifted me some time in that time, because we're still small, we're still a small business, and the change in understanding of walking in on a Monday morning, for example, and having a structured, you call it L10, we call it today a weekly business review, because we understood that we need to make things our own. Being in marketing and branding, language is important, and so for us, we're been taking these best practices and applying them and formulate our own that works for our business. And so, but I'll tell you, I remember being in a CEO roundtable at one time, and half the room was operating on some sort of operating system, the other wasn't, and there's this big disconnect. And because when we all share some sort of a common language around having a vision statement of some sort, whether it be a vision traction organizer or one-page strategic plan, something that you could refer to, one side of the room, we could have those conversations. And even if our scorecard looked a little different, or we call it a scoreboard or scorecard or whatever, but some sort of metrics that we were measuring, it just allowed us to move so much faster through issue solving. So I'm just a huge proponent. Find the operating system that works for you, but also, be open to finding some of the folks like yourself that are going to create this beautiful, kind of custom thing. There's a lot of operating systems that are very rigid, which serve their purpose. Yeah. But I think there's over time, I think business will need to adapt and need to every business is so unique. Every human's unique, and businesses are just people, and so we've been on. It's really, I think, saved our business in the sense of navigating 2020, being able to shift our focus, having those structured meeting rhythm, for example, that allowed us to transition. I remember we had a gal that incredibly talented that worked with us for about a year and a half. Was just kind of taking a break from employment. She's now the COO of a big company now, but she was at the time, just kind of taking a break, and so she worked with us for like I said, a year and a half, and little things like transitioning us to a virtual Monday morning meeting. But she saw that, so March 16th, whatever that was, we're already on Zoom. We're already meeting virtually. We're already solving problems. So it was very, very seamless, but that comes back to having an operating system.
Yeah, and even the learning is that different sizes of companies, different makeup of companies. There isn't anything that's perfect for a company, but at least leaning into something, right? Because there's just the fundamentals of running a business that most of us just don't. you don't get by just starting a business. You just hustle,
Yeah.
right? And so even if you can just pick something, right? Even having a meeting, right? Half of it's just communication. If we're just talking to each other, then you learn how to talk to each other in the right way, and then you learn how to talk to someone about in an intentional, hey, that we're all rowing in the same boat. Just having a document that shows everybody where you're headed, right? Like, you don't have to like solve world hunger here, but at least people know where you're going.
Yep.
You're solving a massive part of the battle, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's starting to, see the importance of knowing and even sharing that with even our customers, clients around like where we're headed as a business, to just let them know. And the fact that we have that in our back pocket, and it's something you normally wouldn't share, like, hey, what's your 10-year vision and things. But sometimes when they know that, then they're like, okay, well, like, let's talk about that, because and then it just unearths a conversation like, oh, well, this is our 10-year vision. Let's work together to make our visions happen. And so it's almost like there needs to be more sharing of like the visions of the company. Like sometimes you just focus on the product and service without realizing that you're both, basically telling the story of each other's companies for the long-term future by working together. Yeah. And so, in some ways it comes back to vision and having that documented. So people, when they show up to work, it's like a construction site. They know why they're showing up and what they're building.
You hit it on the head. So even at the most innate level, again, most founders, visionary of some form, or they have the vision of what they want. They haven't said it out loud, or maybe they have. It's not written anywhere, but it's normally in here. Then you take it to, actually, once we start putting it on paper and showing our employees, that's like a massive step forward, get people sort of going in the right direction. But then people knowing what's on that document is a whole nother level of rowing, like truly rowing in the right direction. And then you're right, using it as a sales tool, because it is, again, you've got to get, most of the time you're probably fighting above your weight, meaning you're talking to a large corporation, right?
Yep.
And so
it's pros and cons.
Yeah, right. So all good and all bad, but sharing with that large organization, sometimes they think they want to go buy the big name over here, the big corporation, which again, that's going to have its own probably more drawbacks than positives. And then you're a smaller boutique firm potentially. Again, you might be competing against that. Yeah. But you're sharing the vision that we're not just sitting here. We don't just do videos, right? There's a bigger piece of pie here. That has to pull people in, right? So it's getting out of the owner's head, getting to their employees, get the employees to own it, and then actually sharing it. And then what do you know? You're doing business with people that just might be similar to you and that might be more fun to work with because they see who you are and how you're connected. Yeah. I deal with the core values conversation with people. That story, but the most fun conversations and the most fun transformations that I get to have with some of my clients is getting people, whether it's their vendors or customers, out of their ecosystem because it's such a cancer and a culture killer for them. So if you can start with a client who's already aligned with you, and how do you know that unless you're sharing who you are? That's beautiful.
Yes, 100%. And that's what we've realized, some of these industries that we are in now and starting to peel back what maybe the company as a whole does, but then focusing on the person that we're working with. And so that's led us to, I think, a really beautiful spot right now with the people that we're working with that align with those core values. But it's also it takes a second to kind of say, if we're doing something that may seem boring to a lot of people, if we're doing insurance videos,
right.
But the person that we're working with aligns with us, then we're having fun no matter what. And so sometimes it's hard because we may have ambitions to do exciting, a sports work and things like that. But then we get reminded too that if we miss, it doesn't matter the end product in some ways, right. And so it definitely, it plays a role, but we're constantly reminded, as our first core value, respect for all people, that, we're really, we're evaluating someone from that first conversation, and they're evaluating us, and we got to make sure that we're coming with our full, real selves from day one, so then they get a feel for us, and that's important. Because because I mean, regardless if you've signed a contract or not, you're already working together. That first conversation is already, things are happening. There's already an investment of time, and so and that goes to that idea of like, as a business owner in your role, like you have to be always on. It doesn't suddenly come off. It is 24/7, 365.
So I want to take you to, speaking of roles, family, thinking back to the 5-man huddles and everybody in the business, to now, congratulations. You're now a part of the married crew.
Yep.
As of November, I believe, right?
Yep.
And I know that doesn't just shift overnight how things happen, but, I know when I remember roughly when you were in the relationship, or when you were certainly goo-goo-eyed over it.
Right? Definitely. Still am.
Yeah, awesome. That's fantastic. What's your role like on that side of the fence, and how do you turn things off? You just said you're on 100%.
It's a great question. How I look at things, John, and this goes for myself, it goes for our business and how we structure things. And operating systems play a big role in that. But I look at, how am I waking up in the morning? Am I excited about the day? Okay. And then when I come home, and sometimes I work from home, but regardless, when I kind of, let's just say, have that last call of the day or send that last email, kind of do that shutdown routine, sometime before dinner, and what's my energy level at the end of the day? And I want to continuously evaluate, and this goes to where, how we direct the business moving forward, towards that vision, and structuring it in a way that waking up excited and in that wind down, walking into my time with Emma in the evening with the same level of energy. And so easier said than done, because there's days that, things stack up on each other. Sometimes there is if we're working in a different time zone, for example, there may be a later call, and there's some things that, and even in Emma's business, she works with ski racers around the world. So her time, sometimes our times are different. And so that's how I'm kind of evaluating as a husband. We want kids and a family eventually. So I'm already kind of foreseeing how do we structure our business to continuously support families. Now that my brother's starting a family, he's going to have twins coming up here, so it's a really big changes. But that's just my evaluation point: is excitement in the morning and energy when it comes to that evening time.
And the intentionality around that is what I'm hearing behind you, like, because sometimes it's hard to have it. The mornings, I think, for me, are just generally easier because I'm always just like, wee, right? It's that after the end of a day, tough day, long day. Could be an amazing day, but could be a draining day. But choosing to show up with that same excitement, right?
Sometimes it's just taking a second. We live in an apartment complex right now, and it's just like, before I open that door, some days I just need to take a second, okay? Just take a breath. Come in, with a sense of, just good. It just needs to be good energy. It doesn't need to, be super excited, but just good, calm energy. And that goes such a long way. We're in this beautiful stage of life right now. We keep using the word beautiful. I love it because it's just like
I can see it. When you say it.
And just being in. I'm really in. I think the word I'm using now is like, it's beautiful moments in time, but also just being in awe. I'm in complete awe of her, like in who she is, who she's becoming, it's an awesome time. But it's also, it's challenging. It's always. We're having, we set aside time once a week, so kind of applying an operating system to our marriage. We do have a weekly relationship meeting. It's important. It's Sunday. Sometimes it's just 5 minutes. Sometimes we're getting ready for the week. Some things are happening, but I'll tell you what, even as 5 minutes, or sometimes it's an hour, but 5 minutes of just, hey, what are the challenges in our relationship? Let's share some admiration towards each other, and then let's plan for some good times. And sometimes it's just, we just hit those three. And then sometimes it gets, if we do get to that hour, it's more of those logistical things. Hey, let's look about the week. living in the downtown urban environment. We have one car, so it's logistical things. But the weekly relationship meeting was definitely, applying our first kind of applying an operating system to our family.
That is, that brings up something that a handful of things come to mind, but, those that know of operating systems, right? Again, whether it be EOS, Scaling Up, Pinnacle, Bloom Growth, those that know, like certain communities, like we all know it, right? Everybody knows what it is. But it's amazing of probably the 90%, 95% of the other small businesses out there that don't know it, right? Because again, you were part of EO. So again, I was part of Vistage, I am. And so, it's just common knowledge, right? Yep. So we apply that and we see the value in it in business. Very few, very, very few apply those same principles to life. And I remember when my wife and I started doing it, she's like, I'm not going to be your business, right? She thought it from that formal standpoint.
Yeah.
But we were never more on the same page as we were when we were, emphatic about doing it, about being on the same page, right? How do you really talk about your dreams? How do you really talk about where you're going? Mm-hmm. And that's the most important relationship you have.
Yeah.
Right? So, so the maturity level for you, number one, and entering into a marriage and one with a state that from you as a human, whether it be it's got to be certainly your upbringing. Some of us have had to go through different parts of life to get to a space that's even remotely close to how you're showing up. I just think I'm not going to say beautiful, but it is. It's really impressive, right? To be able to go into to a marriage with the maturity level and with the mentality that you have, right? You're leap years ahead of what many folks step into that most important relationship of, and where does it go, right? Why the divorce rate is what it is, you name it, right?
Yeah. For some reason, my mind goes, John, to a moment in 6th grade. There was in our community, each school district, and we went to the Catholic school, so the few private schools could nominate 2 individuals for an American Legion Award. And I remember Gal and I won it from our school, so we're at this huge auditorium where all these 2 people from every school were in the room. And I'll never forget the speaker. This is like, he said there's 2 directions you can go in life. You can learn from the mistakes of others, or you're going to have to go through, the mistakes yourself. And that's stuck with me since 6th grade.
Wow.
Around like how to, and it's hard because sometimes I know, with even knowing that quote, that I'm going to just have to go through this.
Yeah.
I know I'm over caffeinated someday. I'm going to make this mistake. Something's going to happen today, and that I know I've heard from someone else not to do. And sometimes you just have to go through it. It's part of life.
Right.
But yeah, there's definitely been some things that just, and I think it too, I look at back, and this goes back to childhood. My parents always talked to us like adults, put us around other adults. So we've always been comfortable around adults. I remember my first job as a 16-year-old, at a hardware store, and just some of the feedback I got, they were just like, whoa, you just feel, you got a sense that okay, you're comfortable here. You're comfortable, even if I'm BSing with, some old guy about hardware because I have no idea about hardware, at least I could talk to him about something. Hey, how's your family doing? Or something. And so the importance of like I said, go back to childhood of just being around all different types of people, where you can get these different perspectives around marriage, around business, around life. That and I think this is where in today's world where it's kind of deviating, like we all have access to these types of relationships online. We can follow all types of people, but how much of this are you getting in person? Right. Like even this right here, we're in studio. I'm looking into your eye, and we're sharing this conversation, which is a lot more meaningful than, let's say, if we were online. And so I'm just seeing more and more, even almost a differentiator. The more just be around people in real life today is everything. And you start to really learn. Yeah. You can look up anything anything you want online, you know?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Are you going to apply it?
Right. And you know what, one thing that the blessing of COVID was learning how we can scale in different ways remotely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, many of us, me intended, fall into the trap of, oh, well, I can just do everything remote. I can communicate in a hands-off way, and really, again, fall into that trance. And stuff happens. Business has been happening, right?
Yeah.
But then bringing it back to the human element, the face-to-face, like, talk about energizing, right? Talk about when I can walk into the door at home, right? That bookend of getting up excited, getting home excited is when I'm connecting with people all day. If I'm sitting in front of my computer, I'm a zombie.
Yeah.
But when I'm connecting with people, right, that energy level is just, I don't have to try to recreate. I don't have to try to make a choice, right? It's just, it pours out.
Yeah, I mean, it's really amazing world we live in, though, that we can jump on a video call and get business done. Like it's still today, I mean, the majority of the projects that we're working on right now, I mean, it was all done via Zoom to start. And, marketing, for example, those that we're working with is a very remote profession now.
Right.
So the gift of just having, the ability to just quickly connect, get to know someone,
right.
Unfortunately through a screen, but then it's also reinforces how beautiful, how amazing the in-person can be because of that, because we know the other side. I think before 2020, we didn't really know how valuable it was. So sometimes in life, like, there needs to be this, time or something happens that you get to see the other side for a little bit. And so we've done that. And I think now we're moving back towards, and you see that. I mean, talking to business owners and companies like, like remote's been great, but a hybrid, I mean, getting people in the office and on a rhythm, like getting back to people show up at the same time, like, because we're rhythmic beings, like we're like, and that's I think something that's kind of, we've been thrown off a little bit, and so I think, that in-person rhythm is important.
Yeah. Well, Hugh, I like to end with a nugget that can be helpful for everyone and maybe even therapeutic for you. What's the number one failure, mistake, misstep that you've had that you've learned from and maybe others can?
So actually we'll go back to kind of the first entrepreneurial journey. So when I started a college hockey program, as an 18-year-old, I was very much like, had a vision. It was very clear, and it was like my way or the highway kind of approach. So I think I disrespected some people because I was the bull in the china shop. I went into the athletic department, went to the president's office. I was just, hey, I want this to happen now. And still to this day, because I started some alumni engagement work and stuff like that, the program's, entering into its next decade now, and reflecting back that some of the things that I haven't been a part of in the program has been probably the way it started. But on the contrary, I mean, the program won a national championship in year 5.
That's
so
awesome.
Like it was we wanted to win from day one, and we created that culture, and it was amazing. It's the first team national championship in the history of Aquinas College.
Wow.
No other sports program had won a national. We did it in 5 years.
Wow.
But the way I did it gave me the lessons for business of, and that's why our first core value is respect all people. Like that is at the foremost value over the vision, even. Like if as our vision is as we move towards it, respecting all people has to be at the center of that. And so that would just be one thing I learned, and that was just, like I said, just kind of disrespect me. But I had such a clear vision, and it all, all kind of worked out. Wasn't that long-term understanding of, hey, I need to be, really see the other side of where people are coming from, those that resisted. And that was another lesson too of like, around failure, like we were able to, be successful through the failures was because I found about 50% of people who didn't believe in the vision and 50% who did. So that polarities of both sides.
Right.
But at the end of the day, and you don't want to burn bridges, especially when you live in a small place. I mean, I know major market, you probably get away with some things, but you just got to respect people. People want that. People need that nowadays.
I think that's great because, again, the result worked out, obviously, from a results-only standpoint.
Yep.
But without measuring the steps of those other things that you touched along the way, we don't know. Yep. So there's still a way to be aggressive with being respectful. Yeah. Right? We're still getting the thing done. Because, if you aren't disruptive and pushing the envelope, that's how businesses get started. That's how businesses succeed. So you have to be able to push. Yep. But in the right way.
Yep. So I got to see the pure performance side of starting something.
Well, that's incredible. And a blessing to that community that you got it started. So wonderful there. Well, Hugh, this has been incredible. Thank you for joining me. How can we help you touch more folks, get more of your content out to help others share their story?
Yeah. So, I mean, first and foremost, we're working with, those that are owning the story of an organization, whether that be the marketing, communications, PR, the business owner, and so going to ingalspictures.com, and if there's a feeling there that what we are putting out to the world touches you in some way, like you have a good feeling, then we'd love to have a conversation. So
awesome.
That's what I would say, because we're in an emotional storytelling environment, so it's vibes. We work with people that are ready to have fun making a movie. So.
Yeah, no, and those that aren't here, right? You get that feeling and vibe. So if you want more than just a video cast, go to Ingalls Pictures. Love it. All right. Well, again, thanks again, Hugh. I'm glad we finally got to connect. Thanks for making the trek. That's a wrap.
Thanks for tuning in to The Roll Call with John Glahn. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe for more insightful conversations. Remember, discovering your true role in life is a journey worth exploring each and every day. Until next time, keep defining your path and living your authentic self. This is John Glahn, signing off.